So this is for my next door neighbors, um, and most of my neighbors around here, I tell them I have YouTube channels. So if you're my neighbor and you know me, this is for you. And I think this would apply also to the people that live in my town where I live. Also, um, in the county I live in. They have uh, air quality restrictions. I have a custom made wood stove. My custom made wood stove passes the county regulations. It's it's accepted by my homeowner's insurance company as a wood stove. That's it's been okayed by the county. It's not a certified wood. It's not certified, so it doesn't have the baffles in there for capturing soot and smoke. It's just straight up to the chimney, and then there's a screen with a stovepipe with a screen on it and on the roof. And I realize that air quality is really important. I mean, a lot of people have COPD or they have other breathing problems where they if there's smoke in the air, if I were to burn wood in my wood stove, then other people that live around me, you guys, would smell that, and it would the soot would get on your car windshield, and possibly you could smell that smoke from inside of your house. If you're ventilating your house, your windows are open, so some of the smoke from my chimney might blow downwind of your house. So what I do, I mean, I have a lot of trees around my house. I'd say I have about maybe 15 trees that are more than a foot in diameter on the base. And periodically I have branches that fall down in a windstorm. And I also have a big pile of firewood from a Douglas fir tree that was cut down years ago, and I have it in a pile. I haven't split it or anything. So I will say to you, as my neighbor, next door neighbor, that I will not burn wood during a burn ban. And when I do burn wood, it will be because my power went out and I can't heat my house because it's the only electrical, it's the only heating I have in my house. I don't have a heater buddy. I don't have any way of heating myself with propane. So I would have to use my wood stove to burn wood to heat the house. Then you would smell smoke. So I'd have to apologize in advance if at any time the smoke from my chimney bothered you. Then I'll let you know now that you will very rarely see any smoke coming from my chimney unless the power goes out in the winter. There could be, like, if I have company over, and just for like if I have company over, and it's just for like ambiance, right? I'll have a fire in my wood stove. But then when I'm just here by myself, I'll never burn any wood. Very very rarely. If it gets to be into the low 20s or high teens, and then it gets windy, and then it gets cold, really cold. If it ever got to the point where it was so cold, like, I might, but it'd have to be the Pierce County air quality. It would have to be green. I couldn't be burning wood on a day where the air was, where there was inversion, or when there was no wind at all. So I'm pretty careful about that. So even though you guys could have fires outside at a fire pit, or have a little wood burning, do wood burning on your own property, and I don't mind that, right? I'm okay with that. Um, Um, so, but and then fireworks too. You can have like a graduation party, or at the you could have watch a football game, and when our team wins, when our whole local town team wins the game, you can light off fireworks, right, as much as you want at just within that hour of the game, right? So that's okay. Or you might have a big party at your house, and you light off fireworks like mortars, because there's a graduation party or a birthday party or whatever party, then you do that as long as you do it before 10 a.m. and don't do it all day long, right? And the same applies to the 4th of July, right? If you have mortars and skyrockets and 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 cherry bombs, and you're using like tannerite or other explosives, and you're making loud explosives on the 4th of July and on New Year's Eve, that's okay. What really drives me crazy is when it's like a 3-day weekend, right? When it's like the 4th of July is on Friday or Thursday night, and it's Friday, Saturday, and Sunday off, then it's like every single day, all day long, and at night. And it wouldn't be so bad if I was like on a lounge chair and I was outside and I was watching the festivities, and I was actively involved in the fireworks celebration. It really wouldn't bother me that much. What really bothers me is when I'm in my house and it's late at night, it's after 10, and I'm hearing explosions. I have all my windows and doors closed. I have my radios on, I have my TV on, I have fans on, and I'm hearing at random times in the middle of the night, I'm hearing explosions. Then that's when I get a little bit kind of stressed out from that. And I'm not a veteran, right? I realize that some of you were served in the Air Force or the Army, that you spent time, you were deployed, and you might like to reminisce about what you went through on the battlefield. Maybe when you went to war, it was fun. Maybe you had a good time. So when you celebrate 4th of July, it's like you remember the good old days when you were out shooting your M16 out on the battlefield, or out you were like training with your mates, out at boot camp, and you were shooting, and maybe it gives you feeling of a joy and excitement when you hear explosions. But you like things, loud things banging, and you get off on that, but as somebody that's old, and I've lived through, many, many, many 4th of July celebrations. I've heard 4th of July. Every year I hear 4th of July, things booming and banging and hissing and popping and thumping. And it gets to be where after you hear it again and again and again and again, year after year after year after year, it's not as exciting as when you're like 14 years old, or, and I understand that if you're younger and you haven't had a lot of 4th of Julys in your life, that it's a big deal for you. It's like a new experience in that. So, but I just want to say it bothers me if it's after 10 and it's random, right? And I'm not ready for it, and I hear an explosive mortar go off, or somebody's like igniting a volatile in a bottle, or or causing some event to happen to make a loud explosion, or it shakes my walls, and it goes through it. I can feel it in my body when I'm in my house with all the windows closed. And I'm laying in bed, and it's like it's really shocking and disturbing for me. And I'm not used to combat. I've never been on a battlefield. It had like mortars launched at me, and I didn't get to experience that. And for me, as a civilian, it's not something I like to have, like to you know like to endure through a nighttime of things blowing up around me, randomly. So, um, and then I realized that you have dogs, and they're guard dogs, right? You need them. You need those dogs to be really mean, and at the slightest noise, at the smallest sound of me being just walking in my yard, the dogs just come right up to the fence, right, and bark, 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 bark at me continuously. If I'm in my yard raking leaves, or I'm like cutting my yard with a weed whacker, or I'm out there trying to straighten things up or fixing something, or just trying to enjoy my own yard and water my plants, and your dogs, they're coming at me, they're looking at me through the fence, like if they broke through the fence they would tear me limb from limb. Really mean dogs. So I understand that you're protecting your property, right? I understand that you don't want anybody in or around your backyard, and your dogs are there to protect your things, your boat or your whatever you have in your yard you're doing. And if I hear the dog and the dog is barking at me, I'll try. You think I'm weird, right? You think I'm really strange because I'll talk back to the dog. I'll actually try to talk to the animal. I'll tell the animal, neighbor, shh, be quiet, shh, don't bark, neighbor. I'll tell that to the dog. I'll vocally say that to the dogs that are barking incessantly at me. And you don't like that. You're like, how the hell? What are you doing telling my dogs not to bark? I'm like, you're that attitude. And I'm like, well, I don't want to hear them barking at me. If they're going to bark, then they should be familiar with me. They know I'm there. If I talk to them, they know, oh, that's the neighbor. Because I just say neighbor like that to the dogs. I say neighbor, and then shut up, and then shh like that. And I'm like, and I go, oh hush, I tell that to the dogs. And shh, be quiet like that. I go like that, or I say, dog, be quiet. I mumble about the dog making barking noises under my breath, and go on about my business in my backyard. So I do that. And then my animal that I have, that I'm a guardian to, my cat, she's in the house all the time now. She's in the house all the time now. She has a scratching post. She has a cat. She has the cat litter boxes. She's got catnip. I pick her grass. I give her fresh water. I give her both the canned food and the dry food. I have dry food dispensers. I have places where she can sleep and look out the window. So there's no reason for my animal to go outside of my property and get in your flower bed or shit in your driveway or be a nuisance on your property. My animal is locked in my house all the time, so it's not a nuisance to you, my neighbor. And yeah, you trapped a wild raccoon on the fence, and you bought a trap that was a pipe, and you caught a raccoon by the arm, and you trapped it on the fence. And I seen that. My wife saw it, and I got scared, and I recorded that, and I posted it on YouTube, and I posted it on Facebook. And obviously you must know that, right? I put it on all my channels, and therefore you got upset that I put something that you did right on the fence that you caused. I put the animal on there, and even though you called animal control on me because you saw that I had more than 4 cats in my window. You looked in the window of my house while my blinds were open, and you looked and saw there was more than 4 cats in my house. You called animal control. Animal control came by and said, hey, you have 2. They were saying that I didn't let them in my house. They told me you were only allowed to have 5 cats in your house. And I had 5 cats at the time. There was one outdoor cat too. So, and that she was wandering the neighborhood. And yeah, you called animal control on me, and then you saw a video of a sick cat that I posted, and you called the sheriff, and the sheriff came out like within a few hours of early the next day. The sheriff came out. The sheriff wanted to know that the sheriff accused me of not taking care of my animal properly, that I had not taken my animal to a veterinarian, and that I was required by law, county regulation, to take my animal to a certified veterinarian. and I had to go out of my way, and I had to go through my files, and I had to find all the receipts from the veterinarian appointments, bills that I had for that animal, and present them to the sheriff to show the sheriff, look, the cat is sick. I'm not going to take it to the vet. Won't be able to do anything for it. Won't make it any more comfortable than it is now. It'll get, yeah, it's ready to die. Right, it's a dying cat. I've had cats that died before. I've had, and I've never heard of the law saying that I'm required by law to take my animal to a veterinarian if the animal is sick. That it's unlawful for me to medicate and treat my own animal unless I'm a licensed veterinarian. So the sheriff was called. The sheriff came over for that. I had to talk to the sheriff. I had to show him the paperwork, all of my receipts for the veterinarian that I taken the cat to. I showed the sheriff the video of the raccoon trapped in the fence with his paw in the trap, squirming and hissing and hanging there with his paw hanging inside of the clasp. His paw was clasped in, couldn't get out. I ended up hacksawing the chain off, and it ran off. And then it appeared a few weeks later. The raccoon was missing an arm, and it was on my front porch. And I have to say, when my wife was here, we did put dry cat food out on our porch, so we were attracting the wild raccoons. And I confess now, and I do no longer do that. I have bird feeders, but the bird feeders it's just for birds, and there's squirrels that come around too, but they're not nuisance animals. It's not an animal that can attack your dog because you had a little schnauzer dog, that was vulnerable to a big raccoon getting in your yard and aggressively attacking your dog. I understand now that it could have been you're just protecting yourself and your property there by trapping the raccoon. And at the time, it was just something. My wife was freaking out. She heard a raccoon. She seen a raccoon out hanging on the fence, and I was like upset because it wasn't in like a trap where it was a cage where you could just trap it and then take it somewhere and release it. It was a trap where the animal was injured while it was being trapped, And that's what upset my wife and myself, was seeing this animal that was obviously in pain, struggling on the fence in a trap. And as far as like my yard and the appearance of around my house, that I have like abandoned my car. I have a 1990 Geo Metro with flat tires that's covered with moss and pine needles, and it has ivy growing around it. And I have, if somebody drives by and they look at my house, they'll see that I have, my porch is not really repaired very well. It needs repair. The front of my house needs painting. The side of my house needs painting also. And I need to keep my decks swept off. And also my roof needs cleaning. And I have a few other items that are sitting within the street. If somebody's walking down the street or driving, they could look into my backyard and see that I have I'm storing some things that are visible from the street. I'm sorry about that. I'm working on getting my yard to look better for you, so that when you have friends or family come over to your house, that you're not embarrassed by a neighbor that has a junky looking yard. So I'm working on that. I'm actively trying to get things to look better, and I'm putting things away. After my wife was like bedbound for almost 5 years, and I was working full time, and I had to take care of my wife too at the same time. And I let some things go, like the lawn didn't get mowed as often, and some of the trees and the shrubbery was like overgrown. And I didn't put re-gravel my driveway. and I didn't paint, and I didn't fix my porch, right? So I didn't make my porch all fixed nice and paint, and I left some things on the front porch. I'm storing some things that should be in a garage, but I don't have a garage. I only have a front and a back deck to store things on. And I'm sorry about that. I'm sorry if I am embarrassing you, my neighbor, because my yard looks junky, or around my house looks junky, or my house looks like I'm not keeping it up properly like I should, you know. Um, but you might see me coming and going, and I never wave hello. I never say hi. I never I try not to make eye contact. I go to the grocery store. I park my car. I open my trunk. I get out. Take the groceries out of my car. I take them in my house. I go outside. I'll walk to the mailbox. I check my mailbox, or I'll go outside and I'll sit in my backyard when the dogs aren't barking at me. Um, or I'll just like have my radio on out there when I'm doing yard work, you know. And I know you're easily offended by certain types of music too, so I'm very careful about the kind of music that I play. That you shouldn't be able to hear it more than 50 feet away from my radio. So my phonograph shouldn't be you shouldn't be able to hear that further away than 50 feet. Um, if I if I'm doing yard work and I turn it up, I put it on like country western, or like a Christian radio station, so that the music doesn't offend you. Um, you know, and I and when you if you have friends over and you're entertaining your guests, and they're and they mention that my house looks shabby, or that you looks like you live in a trailer park because your neighbors, they don't keep their property up, you know, that I honestly, I'm sorry about that. Right now that my wife has passed away and I have more time on my hands, and I'm struggling with, trying to make ends meet. I'm on a fixed income now, and I have little, capital to use for painting and refurbishing and repairing and remodeling, and renovating and putting a new deck on my house, a new roof, and maybe regraveling the driveway, maybe doing some other things landscaping wise to make my house more presentable, to make things look better from the outside, from the street. And I'm working on that right now. So I just thought I'd let you know that. And I just wish you a happy 4th of July, and a New Year's Eve too. Those two times that you could celebrate and make lots of hoopla, and dance, and shout and scream and light things off, explosions and fireworks, and have a really good time. Have all your friends over and turn your music up loud and dance and have a good time and celebrate, and not look over at my house wondering, oh, is he's probably not going to like this noise, right? All these fireworks are lighting off, that neighbor probably doesn't like that. But I don't care. I don't mind, because as soon as if it bothered me, right? If it was like, if I vocalized and I bothered me all about like that, I'd have to you know um, hire an attorney and do uh, and do try to find other neighbors that are bothered, to get signatures and get a petition, and have a put money out as a retainer for a lawyer. And I don't want to have to do that. I don't want to spend money on laws and legal issues and that. If they're constantly lighting fireworks off all day long and in the middle of the odd hours of the night, it bothers me, it disturbs me, then if if I'm losing my mind, right, if I'm such a sensitive person, right, that can't handle random explosions around his house at odd times, all night long, all day long, and it's like, why don't you leave, right? Just pack up your things and get in your car and go and leave. If you don't like it, you would tell me that, right? Or you would say, "Oh, you're a spoil sport. Oh, you're a Debbie Downer. Oh, you're not. You don't want to have fun. You're against people having fun, having a good time." You'd tell me that, and you say, "Ah, if you don't like it, just get in your car and go. we're going to have our party and our celebration. We don't care if we bother you, you know. That's your problem, right? This is our freedom. We have a right to light off fireworks at all hours in the middle of the night. Hey, cops ain't going to do nothing because they're my buddy. I got my cops and buddies of mine are in the Pierce County Sheriffs, and they're in the fire department. They don't they call, so you'd call them. They just say, you just put up with it. Don't bother them. They're not bothering you. They're just celebrating. They're having fun. You're getting in the way of their fun. You know, they tell you that, and you know, I'd say, well, I don't really want to get in my car and leave. I live here. I pay taxes here. This is my house. This is my home. If I wake it up at the three or 4 in the morning or 1 a.m. in the morning in a random explosion over my roof, you know, it scares the shit out of me. It wakes me up out of the cold, dead sleep. Then, you know, hey, you know, what else am I going to do, right? But as far as that and like my animal, right, you don't have to call animal control on me anymore, right? I have one cat. She's taken care of. She gets the best food. I play with her toys. She has little bell toys. She's got feather toys. She has 2 scratching posts, good scratching posts, and she's got a couch she can scratch on. She's got lots of nice places she can sleep by the window, and I'm taking care of my animal. She's very well taken care of. You don't have to call animal control on me. And I'm quiet. I mind my own business. I'm not in any way trying to be in your face about anything or in your business. I mind my own business. I'm quiet. I pay my taxes. You know, I'm a good citizen. If I have to go to jury duty, I'll go to jury duty, right? Or if I'm you know, I'm a good neighbor, I'm watching out for you too. So if I see some shady character around your house or in the neighborhood that looks like they might be trying to steal or rob, I'll say something. You know, I'll take a picture of them and I'll show you the picture of them that I seen some strange person on your property while you were on vacation, right? So it's a favor thing, right? It's a neighbor for neighbor thing. So I scratch your back, you scratch my back, you know, and there won't be anything about animosity and anger directed towards me. And uh, maybe your wife saw me and was like friendly to me, or maybe they think I'm good looking, your wife or your girlfriend, and you got like you're pissed off at me for that, or you just like at the drop of a hat, you don't want me to even be around or near or being seen with or seeing your wife or your girlfriend, right? So you're like hyper vigilant about your, you know, being on guard against another guy, right? Making a move on his girl, you know. But I'm happy. I'm single, right? I want to be single. I want to stay single. I, uh, my wife passed away recently, so that's why I'm more of a recluse. You know, you won't see me very much. I'm inside most of the time, and it's really good for me. I'm really glad I got this off my chest, you know, and that because I know I've given out this name, this pseudonym, measterpool. I've told the pseudonym to many people in the area that are local around me that know my pseudonym name. Um, if you want, you could. I know that you could like type in my address on the street and then find out my name, my phone number, how old I am, uh, other people I may have known, family members or friends I've known, or other previous addresses that I've lived at. You're able to find all that information out. All you need to do is type in my street address, and voila, it's there on Google, right? You find it. And you know, I realize that. That I'm not somebody that really cares about their privacy on this platform, right? It's not. I'm not really like, oh no, they might see me without a shirt on. Oh no, they might know I have a messy house, you know, or they might see that I'm in a, you know, or like they might like I don't have $1,000 microphone. I don't have a $3,000 studio. I don't have like, you know, really high quality editing software. I'm not using a $3,000 camera, you know, I'm not doing like really fine editing graphics and doing like using like what is it, that footage you buy? You can buy pictures and show them, like you could like. So I'm not like really putting a lot of effort into my YouTube channel. I'm not really going all out to make it higher quality, video quality, the sound quality, the image quality, how everything looks right. I'm not pre-setting up a studio with a backdrop and getting using graphics and that. And so I'm lazy as far as like wanting to have like a, a big subscriber count. I don't really care about that. Um, but if you're my neighbor and you find this video and you watch it, I just thought I'd let you know. I just get that off my chest to let you know what was on my mind, so you don't have to like be like like being like hostile towards me. I don't know where it is or why it is that people are like really hostile, and like they seem like they're mad at me, and I never even introduced myself to them. But I did introduce myself to the wife of a neighbor, and evidently that was by that happening, there's some anger or tension, or maybe there's like that guy better stay away from my woman kind of a mindset. So um and then I had a dog, and I was walking my dog when I first moved here down the street with a leash, right? And the dog urinated on your mailbox, right? And you came out at me and you was telling me, lick that off, you lick that off, get that, you go over there and put your face in there, lick that off. And you were in my face, right? You come up to me and approach me all pissed off because my dog urinated on a mailbox. I don't think it was right like across the street. It wasn't even your mailbox, but you was like all like your dog's shit. You're walking your dog around, letting it shit in my yard like that, like pissed off, right? It was like with the cats too. And I had these cats that I adopted. They were just stray cats, and the people that moved away left them, and I adopted them. And that maybe they did go in your yard and maybe urinate on near your porch, or they defecated in your flower bed. And I'm sorry about that. That does not happen anymore. You don't need to call animal control or the sheriff because of an animal I have. I'm actually going. I'm actually volunteering myself at a farm sanctuary sometimes. So that's my extent of my wanting to be more with animals, and that I'm not I'm not hoarding cats like I did when I first moved here. My wife and I, she would, oh, there's a cat. There's a stray cat. You got to get that cat. Bring him in. We'll adopt him. Get that cat. Look, there's a cat. He's out there all alone. He's in the world. He needs a home. Let's invite him in our house. And oh, they're moving, and they can't take their dogs with them. Well, here we can take your dog. Yeah, the dog has puppies, uh, and the same thing with a cat. It was a cat. Let's adopt a cat. The cat came into my house, and she was pregnant. She had kittens in my house, and so I had a lot more cats. And I didn't go out and look for cats, and I was hoarding them. So don't call the sheriff, right? Why don't you come up and knock on my door, right? If there's a problem with an animal, if you think there's a problem with an animal, just come up to my driveway, go up and knock on my door, right? And talk to me one on one personally. Don't call 911. Don't call the sheriff. Don't call animal control because you see a cat at my window and my car isn't there, right? So it's like you think maybe I abandoned my cat because I'm not home, and you see my cat in the window. Um, it's not necessary to do that. It would be reasonable, and I thought if I grew apple trees, plum trees, berry vines, pear trees, and had like a lot of fruit, that I could just extra fruit, I could give it away to you guys, right? Which I was doing. I gave you guys cherries when I had a good cherry harvest. I picked like ripe Concord grapes, big bunches of it, and I gave it to you. Went to your door, knocked on your door, and handed grapes to you, and bowls of fresh pears, bags of pears, and you should like me. You should say, yeah, I'd want to be a neighbor to that guy. I like him. He's a cool neighbor to have. He's always quiet. He never plays his stereo radio loud. He minds his own business, and he does try to keep up his appearance of his house, right? I mean, better than average. So don't be mad at me. If you have a gripe with me, if you're upset about something, if something bothers you that I did or said, just come and talk with me. Don't call. I mean. So I'm not a native Pacific Northwesterner, right? I'm a transplant. I moved to the Pacific Northwest when I was 29 years old, and I've lived in the Pacific Northwest since then. But my mannerisms and the way I talk or the way I dress too is someone from a beach community in Southern California, but not really. I didn't really live on the beach, but I lived 6 miles from the beach, and I grew up in an area that was the kind of, if you can kind of imagine that. So, um, yeah, I don't know what else to say. If you're my neighbor, you're watching me, give me a thumb up. Feel free to leave a comment if you want. If you're not my neighbor, leave a comment. And I will try to make the appearance of the outside of the appearance of my house look better. I will try to make my bushes and my shrubs and my lawn and around the edges of my property and around the front porch and wherever you can see whatever is visible from the street. I will meticulously go over and reassess the visibility problems and give my house make it look better, make my house appear better from the street. I'm working on it. All right. Have a nice day. Enjoy your barbecue. Enjoy your fireworks. Enjoy your loud parties. Bye.